promised to come here and show you what bipolar looks like. This is what bipolar looks like. Just a regular guy. I have to deal with this illness. Right now I'm dealing with mostly the manic end of it. Prior to, I had a really bad auto accident machine. Prior to that, it was depression. So it seems to go one or the other with me. But the thing that should be noted about bipolar is that it's as different in me as it would be in anybody else because our brains are different. It's like a fingerprint, is the way I look at it. And so that's what makes it hard for the people who diagnose it. Because there's only like 2 or 3 or 4 different diagnoses for this thing that could run, you know, estimated 6 million in this country or have bipolar. That's reported. Maybe double that is your actual. So that's a lot of people, and that's a lot of different ways that this illness can manifest itself. Right off the top, I wanted to say too about Ruth. I wouldn't be standing here if it wasn't for Ruth. She was a very special woman to me. She was there for me. She pushed me to do this. If anybody who knows Ruth, she can be very persuasive. Was Ruth. But I miss her dearly, and I was hoping to have her sitting right there. But that's not going to be the case. So anyway, also there's been some concern that some of my past with this agency has been one of anger and frustration, because I was never able to communicate fully what was going on with me, and the communication wasn't real good on the other side either, so we never really were able to come to any kind of meeting of minds where I was coming. So I just had to go away from here and into a hole basically for 10 years more. It was really difficult for me to climb out of it. I was in this so far deep, this depression, but also denial as well of bipolar, because I didn't want that. I don't want to be called bipolar. And I just want to be called a human being, if that makes sense. Because there are labels, and there are stigma, and there's fear, and there's, like, you hear the word bipolar, you think spree shooter. I don't even own a gun, so I'm not, look, these are anomalies. Most people with bipolar are managing it, taking care of themselves. They're just fine. They can be sitting next to you at work and you never know they have bipolar. Never have a clue. Also, I'm not here to confront or attack or do anything like that. I'm a very positive person now. I've changed a lot in the last year, 6 months, 8 months, and I'm happy, I'm at peace. I've found my way to deal with this, to deal with my life, and it's working for me. And I wanted to share that so you know that it can work for people. That bipolar is not a death sentence. It's not. I don't even believe it's for life, to tell you the truth. I think you can overcome it. I think you become symptom-free if you work hard enough at it. But the key word is work. It is hard work to climb out and to stay out. And just a little bit of history. I'm 52 years old, and I can trace it back to probably incidents of weirdness that worked me to the 90s, maybe even earlier. But probably around mid-20s, late 20s, when I noticed depression was really taking over. And so I sought out help, and I was diagnosed with, at first, depression. Cycled through. I can't even tell you how many different antidepressant drugs. And they all take certain amount of time to, the doctors will tell you that 6 weeks, 2 months before you even know that it's helping you. Imagine this with like 10 different drugs. How much time is that? That's years that you're wasting trying to figure out medicines. That does not work for me. In 2003, I was first diagnosed bipolar, and I was scared to death. And I didn't want to. I said, no, thank you. I'm not bipolar. I've never had any kind of manic episode in my life. I wouldn't know it if it hit me. Diagnosis 1. 2 years later, just prior to losing that job, I was diagnosed again. And different doctor. But he explained that I may not have experienced any kind of mania because I had to perform my job. I had to perform as a normal human being, so it would, then it balled up into rage inside of me. That's what happened. I was a walking ball of rage for a long time. And it came out. It came out 3 times, cost me 3 different jobs. The last one being right here, Mariposa Gazette. And I had a big fight with the owner of the newspaper. Next thing you know, I'm out of work. And I've got this, and I've got no way to pay for where I'm living. And that was real fear for me. But things have a way to work themselves out. And I was able to get caught up. I was able to get the disability it came like 3 days before I was supposed to be evicted from my home. So I was able to stay in the same apartment area but move into a nicer place. And I'd been there until just this last April. And that's when I decided to crawl out of the hole. So then I got evicted from that place. I immediately found a new place. Much better. I'm so much happier in this new place. And things were really, really rolling along. And I was, okay, the depression's less. I'm sleeping a little better. Maybe I got it. Maybe I'm figuring it out. Well, and then June 10th happened. And on that day, I should have died, really. I was driving out Highway 140 toward the park. I had a seizure and went unconscious. Veered left, right off 40-foot cliff, down into the water, Merced River. My back wheels caught on the very last bit of dirt, or else I would have been gone. In a way, you could say the drought saved me. Hey, when I look for something positive out of the drought, there it is. It saved my life. So that river was full, I'd be, fish food. And I remember, I have no memory prior to the wreck, no memory after it, but I remember the wreck itself vividly, like it happened today. It was the most violent thing I've ever been through. Trees, my mirrors being ripped off, into a boulder, over a boulder, crashing into another boulder, bouncing back. And I remember getting out of the truck after I'm in the water and sinking up to my knees. And people are way up there going, "You need help?" I'm like, "No, I got it. So I got back in the truck and put it in reverse. I was going to drive my butt right out. Nope. And the next thing I know, I'm gone, and I wake up in a hospital in Modesto. As far as physical injuries go, this scar and whiplash, it worsened already bad in that part of my head. So I got out of it really unscathed physically. But what I would find out about 10 days later was what a manic episode is really like. Oh my God. You have no idea. It consumes you everything. Yeah. You know, I didn't know it was coming. Episodes since then I've been able to feel. It's odd. You feel like I call it a wave. Like it's trying to get over me, and I have to do everything I can to prevent it from crashing over me. It's like it's a tug of war, really. And after that first one, I knew I needed to come up with ways to deal with this because I could not go through that. That first one was 5-6 days of no sleep and complete bouncing around, just trying to figure out, trying to watch television. No, can't do that. Trying to read, no, can't focus. Then I stumbled across the music thing, which is not by no means a new concept, but music therapy, I've read about it for years. Had it suggested, even had people give me music that somebody gave me a chanting CD, and I listened to that. I can't listen to this. I can't. So I came up with my own. It's called Neil therapy. Dare to guess who Neil is? That's right. So now, I feel coming. I get myself prepared. I do not leave my home. I consider that my safety area. That way I don't get in trouble with the gentleman with the badge over there or anybody else. Because it can take your control. It will. It wants to take your control. Don't let it. That's the key. So the next one came. I was ready. I was supplied. And I was going to write. I'm a writer. Makes sense, right? So I'm just going to write through it, keep my focus on what I'm writing. Well, it kind of morphed into basically 15 hours in a row on Facebook, chatting with people. Jerry, I chatted with you about it all the time. I think Ruth may have actually been on that too. But it was amazing. It was 5 a.m. and I hadn't slept. I knew this was coming. I could feel it. And so I start. And I look and I see who's you can tell on anybody who's Facebook knows that a little green light tells you somebody else is on Facebook that you know. So you write them in a, pretty soon the nuts are flying. Pretty soon I got 4 open message boxes with 4 different people. Plus I'm pinging from other people who are responding to other stuff. So I had no time to think about this wave behind me. And the next thing I know, it's 10 p.m. I barely went to that in life. I spoke, I didn't even hardly spoke. It was like everything was all into that. It was either that or let it crash on me and potentially. So right now I'd like to play a song and let you try it out, see what works for you. Or see if you can understand where I'm coming from as far as how it worked for me. What I do is I listen to the lyrics. I listen to how the lyrics are being, how he's singing. Is it? Anybody, first impressions in hearing that song? Please.
I think it's a nice reflection of the experience of being bipolar when you listen to the instrumental section and that discord and then
you picked up on the anger and the music.
Yeah,
first, right?
and then those periods of clarity and a description.
I agree. Anybody else? How about the lyrics?
Pretty much nails you right here, the lyrics.
Yeah, the word misunderstood. That one gets me.
You can really feel it, the emotion in the song,
Absolutely.
and the quiet, and how it comes in waves. You can feel the wave in the song.
You guys are good? It took me a long time to listen to that song. But I did. That wasn't even Neil Young. That was Wilco. I don't know if anybody's familiar with that. They're another good go-to band as far as my personal strategy. And maybe it'll work for somebody else too, but it would be their music. Maybe they'd be into something else. But, it's worth a try. For calming maybe, if nothing else. Or at least put something else in your head to focus on. And that has worked extremely well for me. Generally, the way I go is, okay, here comes, I can't type for 15 hours straight today, you know. I walked out of that session like this. I couldn't move my shoulders, elbows, or hands. I was like this. And it took tremendous effort just to get, you know, get everything loose again. I can't do that every time. So this happened, this worked. I started with Johnny Cash. Real easy to understand. No mixed messages, just straight ahead. Easy to follow lyrics, easy to follow music, and you can focus in on that. Then I moved to Neil Young, was like the middle. And then like graduate level work would be like, say, Bob Dylan. And I even brought a Dylan song for the end, just to show you how hard it can be to follow a song. So, yeah, okay, bipolar, automatic, addiction, brother and sister. Yeah, they're right there with each other. Read an article that said 60% of bipolar people experience that, and I would say 90% minimum, because you've got this thing, you don't know really what it is, but you can't stand the feeling of depression, you can't stand the feeling of anxiety, so you self-medicate. And I did that for years. And well, that car accident was actually the third of 3 near-death experiences. The other 2 were overdoses on muscle relaxers, both of which landed me in the hospital on tubes and everything, restraints, the whole bit. And it also ended up in a 5150. Everybody know what that is? And I know real well. Those are 4 numbers I do not want to ever hear applied to my name again. It's happened 3 times. 2 of them were after the overdoses, which were, by the way, accidental overdoses. My medical charts say I'm suicidal, but I've never had a suicidal thought in my life. Never. It was all self-medication, but they won't listen to you. They will believe you, whoever you're talking to. It's difficult to get your message across, which is part of the reason I'm doing this. I wanted to get it across in a big way, as big a way as I could. And I'm really, really thrilled to see him. I'm so afraid I was going to be talking to Siobhan and Lisa, and she'd be playing music for us. But no, this is great, and I thank you all for being here to listen to this. But addiction goes with it, bipolar. What I had to do was acknowledge the fact that I was an addict before I acknowledged the fact that I was bipolar. And I did that, and I'm coming up on 5 years next year off of opiates was the thing for me, painkillers. I get them from doctors. This is before the laws were changed to make this really hard to do. I just have multiple doctors, or have a friend, or they'll sell you something, or whatever, anything to put together. And it's well, it would have ended up in death for me. That's okay. You know, I figured 3. I don't know if I'll get away with a fourth. In fact, I'm pretty sure I won't. But I dealt with the addiction first, okay. I'm okay with that. I know I'm an addict, and I have to watch that every day. And then, once I started getting the mania, it was like, okay, I give up. I accept you, bipolar disorder. I had no choice. How could I lie to myself after all that? Yeah, I could have, but it was really hard, and it would have locked me into a deeper hole because I was lying so much to myself. You gotta be honest with yourself about it, or else you're not gonna get anywhere. You gotta have a sense of humor about it. You gotta be able to laugh at yourself and laugh at the stupid shit you do sometimes. Pardon my language. Few of those might slip out. That's the way it goes. I'm trying to be as real as I can about this, and it's at the worst, you don't. I remember one period over 10 days, and I barely slept. I didn't shower, I didn't shave, I didn't hardly brush my teeth, I didn't hardly leave my house. I basically laid on my couch with a remote control going like this. That's it. Didn't stop. Just kept going. Hours and hours and hours and hours. It's no way to live. It's no way to live, but it's a really good way to die. A really good way to die. People, bipolar is supposedly not fatal, right? Well, it leads to things that are fatal. And that can happen. When you're in a manic episode, you don't want to, you can't, the addiction part might drive you to a drug overdose that does kill you because you're out of control at that point and you don't know why. So, what is that?
That's a good one.
Let's do it. See, you gotta laugh at it. Everything, you have to find humor in it. And there's a lot to laugh about it, really. Because you do silly things, like you read some of this gibberish you've written while in the moment of trying to stay ahead. You might look at it 2 or 3 days later and go, oh my God, that doesn't make any damn sense. What am I trying to say here? And I'm thinking, oh, all these people have got all these messages of gibberish for me. And I was like, I'm completely whacked. Well, I was for that period of time. But the beauty of it was I was able to knock it out in 2 days by doing it. Rather than 4 or 5, it was like 2. And since then, only one other time have I had it go past 2 because of this. Or another thing I'll do is I'll go sit on my deck and I'll focus on sounds. Like, especially at dusk, it's really nice. You focus on the light, until it's gone. You focus on the sounds of crickets or a bird or whatever, anything, just to keep your focus. And what I found, I tapped into some place here that allowed me to get to that place of focus where I'd never been before. And that was like a euphoric moment, completely life-affirming. I was like, wow, I can get to this point and not know how I got there really, except deep concentration that I've never done before. But I can get back there now too, it's accessible. That's the best thing. Because once you do it once, you learn how to get there, you can get there again. And that can save you a lot of grief with mania. I've been also my hope with this is to bring bipolar people with mental illness of any kind, outside, let it go, once I released, I went to Siobhan and said, hey, I'm ready to, I want to do this. I want to out myself, if you were. And I did that, and I felt this huge burden lift off of me. I felt light. I felt, wow. Life can be good. It can be, it's hard to manage it, but life can still be good. And that's a revelation that you have, it's a personal revelation. All I can tell you is it is just fantastic. It makes you want to live. It makes today great, and you're pretty sure tomorrow's going to be great too if you get there. But you just stay for today. That's it. It's just like drug recovery, one day at a time. It's the same formula. And by doing this, and other people I've noticed have come out too, like famous people who have talked about their bipolar, like Carrie Fisher, Sarah Silverman. Recently I read about her. Singer named Demi Lovato, I'm not sure about her music. Anybody know her? She's out, talks about it. That's great. We need to all talk about it. That way we erase the fear. My brother, very difficult time acknowledging that there is even mental illness, let alone me. And so while I've tried to explain to him what I have, what I'm going to be doing, and why I'm doing it, he just can't. He just can't get there. And some people can't, and that's okay. They can't talk about it, I don't talk about it. But you respect that about other people. And you talk to the ones that you can. And like Ruth, for example, was one. Jerry, I go see Jerry and talk. It's a very helpful thing. The worst thing you can do is lock yourself away like I did. It just took a long time for me to realize that. Anybody have any questions or anything at this point?
I got one for you, Bob.
Please.
Is there like a trigger mechanism that you know that you're going to have an episode, or does it just come on?
Yes and no. When I heard of Ruth dying on Monday, damn near triggered me into it, man. But I didn't let it, because I knew she'd be pissed off about me. And she would. The power of Ruth, swear to God. I wrote that on my status thing before I came over here. Let the power of Ruth be with you today. So, I'm letting it. Or trying. I've never done this before, spoken publicly. I've communicated. Yeah.
How old were you when you had your first episode, and was it brought on by major stress?
First episode of Mania that really.
When you first found out you're bipolar, yeah.
June. All this time I've been diagnosed bipolar.
You had never had a big incident?
Ever. No, I internalized it.
You didn't have it whenever you were younger, it's just when you're 20, and when you got it?
No, I don't know, because I was in college and I was doing a lot of experimentation, recreational drugs at that time. So I don't know what comes first, the self-medication or the recreational use, or when they converge. But I'm thinking it was probably my early to mid-30s that I really could tell that something was up. I was too young and naive in my 20s to even consider it. I didn't even know what it was, never heard of it.
So you never got 5150s in your 20s?
No. Never until I moved up here.
Is that an omen for you?
But the first one was was bad. It was probably, well, if I've been here since '07, this was probably in 2010, because my father passed away in '09, so it was after that. I was on the phone. I was really depressed, so I reached out to somebody to talk. She wasn't home, so I left a message with her adult son saying, yeah, I'm having some real depression, I need to talk to her, and she can talk. Yeah, it's bad. My depression is really bad, so make sure you get her the message, please. Oh, he did more than that. He called the sheriff's office for come over to welfare check. And I was self-medicated, but I was conscious, but just in a different state of consciousness. And I was on the phone with somebody else at this point trying to reach out, and I really needed to talk. And I'm not married, all I have is a cat. He doesn't help. Damn good listening cat. Does not help as far as getting me where I need to be. The next thing you know, there's bam, bam, bam on my door. I open the door and there's guns in my face. Whoa, 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 whoa. I'm just having a little depression, guys. And pill bottle was right there that I had been self-medicating from. And one of the wise deputies decided to count the pills, and the date figured out, oh, you're trying to kill yourself, aren't you? No, 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 no. Put me in handcuffs. Because I guess I was upset. Can you imagine that? And carted me down to the hospital where I sat for hours waiting for somebody from behavioral health to show up. And in that case, I wasn't able to communicate with the person from behavioral health, but what's really happening that I was self-medicating and not trying to hurt myself, just trying to change the way I felt to get out of this horrible place I was in. Well, and the communication on the other side wasn't good either because there wasn't any listening. So, 50 on 50, number one. And they throw you into this human storage facility. That's what it is. There's no stimuli, nothing for your mind. There was never no books and magazines. And one newspaper and one television for myself and a dozen other people that were there, maybe, who knows, maybe more. And every day, you see a psychiatrist. And you beg them to let you out of this thing. You're fine. You did not try to kill yourself. It's misunderstanding. I've never tried. What I want to live, you know. I have things to live for still. But I just could not get it across, and so there I sat the whole 72 hours. Repeat the process 2 more times. 9 days of my life gone. No, I can't get them back. And you do lose. That's a sad reality of bipolar. You do lose time. Lose time in trying to fix yourself. Lose time in trying medications. So now what I do, I researched it. I found the medicines I want to take. I told Dr. Akawa that I'm going to take these. I'm not going to take lithium. I'm not going to take antipsychotics. Don't even bring it up. I'm not going to do it. And I found that formula that works for me most of the time. And it's my belief that the mania, the 10 to 12 manic episodes I've had since June, which is an alarmingly high number. It really is. But it's my belief that that will level out, as everything else has since then. All the trauma that was there, it's leveled out. This will level out too. As far as dealing with people, like someone from the sheriff's office, a first responder type, may encounter somebody in a mania and not know how to deal with that. And it's not something that is cut and dry with every person. But my advice, my suggestion would be that you talk to somebody rather than question them. Talk to them, not at them. Make it conversational. Make it calm. Say, what's going on? You all right? Because you're dealing with somebody in fear as well as mania. It's like talking somebody down off the bridge, you know? Be kind. Have some show that you care. Show that you're willing to be creative in having this conversation or continuing the conversation. And if you're really skilled in what you do, you can have your questions answered in a conversation. You understand what I mean by that? You can shift the conversation to the place where you need questions answered, rather than just question. I think you'll find that works a whole lot better. And I think the last thing you want to do for somebody who's manic is to lock them up, be it in jail or in a place like that. When I was in Merced, who else? Buena Modesto. They're all. And rather than do that, take the person home, you know, make sure they're okay, make sure they have enough food, enough beverage. You'd be amazed how dehydrated you get when you're mad. I go for that Powerade stuff like crazy during mania because it refreshes my electrolytes and keeps, since I'm going to be up, I might as well, you know, be hydrated. But I'd also like to see the policy, I don't know what the policy is, if it has changed or not, but I'd like to see that a 5150 requires more than one signature, preferably one of those signatures be a doctor or a family member, somebody that's close to you, somebody who knows you. I like to see someone in mania just taken home and made comfortable and checked in on later, maybe a phone call the next day, maybe two, you know, whatever it takes. If you're going to do that job, you know, I think you need to be committed to the people that come in there. And I know it's going to be overwhelming, and I know you guys over there are really caring, good people. I honestly believe that. And but that kindness, you got to take people one case individually and not lump them into like bipolar A or bipolar 2 or whatever, however it's classified. You know, I've seen it so many different ways, and the things that I've read, but unless you've gone through it, you just can't fully understand. I'm trying to tell you what happens. I mean, all kinds of things like, you know, your sex drive is just hyper. Man, oh man. Your language is just potty mouth, potty mouth, potty mouth. Like you just swear. But you do what you got to do to get through it. And I managed to find ways to do that. How are we doing on time, Siobhan?
12:55.
Yeah, 12:55, so I think the meeting ends at 1:30, so I can let that be your call.
Okay.
So I'm good? Would you like to try another song?
What other things helped you besides music?
Well, like I said, it was being whatever I can do to keep my focus. The last one I had hit me by surprise. That was weekend before last. And that was 4 days, no sleep the whole time. I just wrote frenetically. Not to anybody this time, but, well, occasionally to some people, but for the most part, I wrote about this experience, and how exactly I was feeling, and how it related to the first experiences I had. Worse, better, much worse, because I didn't know it was coming.
So when you write, do you read them on occasions, if need be? Read them back to yourself?
I do. Sometimes I just go free flow.
Does it help?
When I read it,
Yeah.
I mean reading it back while in mania?
Yeah,
No,
I did.
I can't do it,
Okay.
because it's too hard to edit.
Okay.
And the editor-writer in me I did it for so long, I can't turn it off. So I'd be stopping every other sentence to put a word in, I've forgotten. I drop words. So your brain goes a lot faster than your fingers or your mouth. And like if I say, I might call my mom and say, hey, I'm in a manic, Mom. So if I call and say weird things, that's why. But she can hear it in my voice. I'll stutter. I'll stammer, because there's so much has to come out that my tongue won't go fast enough, and so it ends up slowing me down. So what you need to do then is just kind of like take a deep breath and go focus on every single word that you either write or speak. That to answer your question, in that regard, yes. I'll get to the point where I'll get so fast where I'll just have to say, okay, the dog ran away. That's slow. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. If it doesn't, you try something else. You'll go outside and try the sounds, see if that goes. You just keep doing, and maybe you stumble across something that you hadn't considered before, but it works. Yeah.
Bob, I'm really impressed by you because this is kind of key and important for me to understand more, and I can't imagine the courage it must take to get up there. But I'm interested in one part of what you shared is that you found something that works for you, and it isn't the psychotropics. So can you go more into that? And then I have a thing to ask you about something I thought might work, but I want to.
Absolutely. I love to any and all ideas. Now, as far as the psychotropics, I take gabapentin, which is an anti-seizure medication that is being used off-label because it works. It helps me stay stable most of the time. I take a anxiety pill. Definitely took one before coming to this. And I take a sleeping pill that rarely works. So my medications, and I want it that way. Because you can talk yourself, self-talk. You've heard that. Not another old concept developed into a personal way that I can talk to myself. Say I live alone, so it's easy. I can walk around and talk to myself, and nobody says boo. I don't have any. It's hard on your family, even though my family is 150 miles away from here. It's hard on them, especially me doing this. It's hard on them because it's been out on the internet. Their friends have stumbled across it. We share similar friends in common on Facebook, so they've seen it. It's been out a while. Didn't come out officially until it was published. Friday, was it, Jerry? Did you put it in? Yeah.
I think so.
So that was the only official real notice, but it's been around. I understand it's hard for them. The only thing I'd ask of them is, okay, I can't talk to you about it, I get it. Just be understanding, care about me, and realize that I'm in the process of regaining who I really am. It's been a long time since the real person, the real Bob has been here. He's been hiding out in denial, he's been drugged out, he's been everywhere but here. And now he's coming back. Like, remembering who I am. I like myself. You know, I'm all right. I'm actually a good guy. You know, but you hate yourself at certain points in this illness. You just, the self-loathing is palpable. It's just, it's like you cannot take one step without thinking of something terrible about yourself before you get another step. Think of something else that's terrible. And you pile all this onto yourself, and it's just so unnecessary, but you can't help it. You have no control. So you can lose control either way. Anybody here ever heard of Barrett Robbins? Are familiar with that name at all? He used to played football for the Oakland Raiders. And he was the center on the 2003 team that went to the Super Bowl. 2 or 3 days before the game, he disappeared. Gone. And he was diagnosed bipolar as a teenager. But through his football career, performance-enhancing drugs and human growth hormone and all these things, plus he didn't stay on his medication. He was always heavy drinker, heavy drinker. Anyway, he disappears 3 days before this game, huge game. He's like one of their biggest players. He's like 350-pound guy, gigantic human being. He was finally found in the early morning hours on the day of the game in Tijuana, cruising the bars, completely out of it, no idea who he was, where he was. Yeah, so he spent that morning, spent the football game in restraints in a hospital. Tragic story. He did not play the next year, obviously, but he did try to come back the following year and managed to play. But he lost his marriage, he lost his children, he lost everything. And then football career was the last thing, and that went. He drifted. He was arrested for drugs in Florida, 5 years prison sentence. Served 1, got out in 2012. He was sentenced in 2012, got out in 13. 2014, he's dead. From Super Bowl in 2003 to death in 2014. That's pretty rapid decline. And if there's this is hard. There was an article written about him in 2012 after he had been sentenced to prison. And he actually had a heart attack and was hospitalized. He thought he was going to die then. But a sports writer, someone that like myself, and he wrote a story about it, and he wrote it in a way I may have written it too. But this is the kind of thing that appears about bipolar in media. This is in the Arizona Republic. The Miami Herald. First paragraph about Barrett Robbins. He's battling a two-headed monster of manic depression. That's scary, man. Two-headed monster. Same paragraph. He struggles for every breath and silently is saved. Think about that. Struggles for every breath and silently for his sanity. It's very dramatic. Paints a very vivid picture. Very, very horrifying picture. The next paragraph, he's referred to as the off-center former Raider. He played center. No, that's just nasty. That's just mean. But It flows, good line, works. Every editor will love it. Love it. Third paragraph. The term invisible pain of mental illness. Finally gets it right. Because that's what it is. It's an invisible pain, and it's both physical and mental. I mean, believe me, you feel your head hurts. It feels like it's swelling sometimes. Your body just aches, and you'll get sharp pains in there. And your thoughts the whole time. Later in the story, it's called bizarre and delusional behavior. But he was also called the lovable bear of a man who was not murderous in any way. He was the same age, by the way, as some other people, Janis Joplin, Jim Morrison, Jimi Hendrix, all mentally ill, all dead at 27. There's a huge list of people that didn't know it, didn't know how to deal with it, weren't given the tools to deal with it. And I am so lucky in many regards that I'm not on that same heat. You know, I could be.
Can I add a name to that list?
Absolutely.
Have you heard of Margot Kidder, who played Superman's Lois
I
Lane?
read about it recently, actually. Yes.
And then, did you know that Abram Hoffer, that she spoke at his retirement dinner because he was a psychologist or psychiatrist?
I don't know.
So this is interesting. This is what I wanted to share with you and see if you thought
Please
this
do,
was
yeah.
is when a family member went through this, I was struggling for answers other than the psychotropics. Those are a lifetime answer. They don't give you an out. It's like
Turn my
forever.
brain to soup.
But he's been able to keep people off those with mega doses of specific vitamins, and he calls it orthomolecular medicine. Orthomolecular medicine. Abram Hoffer is the guy's name in Canada. And it was on the theory that if you're genetically predisposed, families experience this lineage of bipolar schizophrenia, that you under stress can create, well, everybody creates adrenaline under stress, but some people convert adrenaline to adrenochrome, which is toxic to the brain. You hear voices and you manic, depressed.
Delusional.
And so if that happens, of course, you can use psychotropics for the short term like a cast on a broken leg, but eventually you can wean yourself like she did by bringing the brain back into balance and managing stress so that adrenochrome isn't creating that toxic environment. And I thought that there might be some merit in it. I've never tested it, but I thought you may have heard of it.
There are a lot of methods out there, and maybe that works for that person, and that might not for me or might not for somebody else. Because everybody's brain is different. And what I found is in mania, pharmaceuticals that I have aren't going to touch me. And I don't want to take like the Haldol or Thorazine or whatever else is used. I'm not even sure the real heavy stuff. But yeah, people have their own things, and I think that's the best way to deal with it is to find what works best for you. And it takes trial and error. It does do that, and that's hard. It's frustrating because you're like you're taking a medicine for, say you're on it for a month. You're not really noticing any improvement, anything at all. And so you go back to the doctor. No, that's what's not good. So we try another, and then a year goes by. And I'm still trying and not finding it. Gotta find it in here. Recovery starts with you. Recovery ends with you. What I discovered was that everything in the middle is YouTube. It has to be. It's not going to work otherwise. You know, you can have an appointment every day of the week with somebody, but unless you can do it, unless you can figure out some way to fight it, and get in there and find out what works for you, you're gonna stay spinning around, you know, it's just, you just gotta keep going one thing to the next and never getting well. When I told Ikawa that I was gonna be symptom-free of this, Dr. Ikawa, the telepsych that Siobhan was referring to, he looked at me and was like, no, I don't think so. It's not a lifetime illness. I said, well, we'll see. I'll talk to you in 5 years. And I'll say no thank you to the medication. And I'm not gonna think that far ahead. I can't think that far ahead. But anyway, there's the tragic end of the Brett Robbins thing. And there were also people like Margaret Kidder and Carrie Fisher. Carrie Fisher's classic quote. I wish I wrote it down, but essentially what her message was, okay, yeah, I've got it, bring it on. Back to you. You know, that's how you, it's almost like there's a persona that's out there that's you, and you're telling that persona, I'm not gonna let it win. I'm not gonna let it take over for 5 days, 10 days, whatever. I'm gonna keep it 2 days, day and a half. And just, you get to a point where you're just determined more than you are anything else. And that's where I am right now. I'm determined not to let it disrupt my life any more than minimum. I don't want it to take over. So I don't self-medicate anymore. I stick to my meds. I got these strategies in place where another good thing is sports on television. If you're into sports, sports can help. But you have to turn the sound off, play music. Commentators will drive you nuts. Honest to God. Honest to God. If I hear, well, I heard Joe Buck and I said, okay, that's first game of the World Series. I hear his voice. All right, well, that's good. Mute. Yes.
Thank you for sharing this. You're just a great example of tenacity and courage and determination. Do you want to wrap it up with your song?
I would love to. I would like to play the absolute hardest possible song there is to follow for Neil Therapy. And it's not Neil again. I brought 2 songs and neither one are Neil.
Psyching us out.
That's the way it goes. But let's do. And this song's great. And I still can't go past the first verse. And I've listened to it dozens of times in the last few weeks. But you'll understand why when you hear it. And there's no message for this song. It's just graduate work in music there. Who got one verse? How about a line? That's Bob Dylan.
Oh,
That's
Her
the
classic.
Subterranean Homesick Blues.
Brilliant video if you've ever seen it.
Maybe have the flash card.
With the cards. Yeah, that's awesome.
Believe it or not, that
It
song's
was flashing in my
50.
brain when I was listening to
It's
it.
a 50-year-old song.
Yeah.
And works for me today.
Still relevant.
Thank you, Bob.
Yeah, just one last thing. My message to people with bipolar, with mental illness, do not hide, do not fear. Get out, accept it, tell people about it, and just live your life. Because it can be lived. It can be. I'm living proof. I'm happy. I'm smiling. I'm at peace. And it's getting better every day. Thank you very much for this.